welcome back to ABQ Sports Crew. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back, ABQ Sports Crew Nation. We got an awesome episode. But before we get started, I am Joshua Carrillo here with my broadcast partner, Adam Nish. Adam, we're back. It's already been a week, dude.
Man, I was looking forward to this show after last weck. I rewatched that episode probably 1,000 times just because my insight was so intellectually profound. It was so deep. I couldn't get enough of myself.
I'm so proud of you. You're using big words today.
It was good.
So proud of you.
It was solid.
No, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We got an awesome episode for you guys today. But before we get started with our show, we're going to take you back to memory lane. We're going to go back a couple years. For those of you who are brand new to the ABQ Sports Crew, we're going to show you how it all started, how it all began. So we have an awesome documentary that our producer put together, and we want to thank Julian at Blue Wind Studios for doing this for us. So take a couple minutes and enjoy the documentary. Back in 2012, I was working as a security guard, and I got kind of bored just listening to the radio, and I kept thinking to myself, there ain't no better way to start something than to talk about sports all day long. And since I've been a sports junkie since I was a kid, I decided I should get the guys together one night and we should just do a little podcast of a sports show. A few of my friends stepped up, Elijah Esquivel being one of them. We had a guy named Mundo on the show, and then Isaiah, we call him Izzy, but they were the first ones to step up, and we decided that, we'll meet like once, twice a month and talk sports. And one of our friends came up with ABQ Sports Crew. On December 9, 2012 was our first show. And I could tell you right now, that was probably the most weirdest thing I've ever done, because we just worked with a little cheap microphone that we bought from Walmart. And we had a little iPhone that we worked with, and we hung the microphone over a chandelier, and that was our studio at the time.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first ever show of ABQ Sports Crew Radio. All right.
We decided, you know what? We need to get more of an audience, so I decided to throw a Madden tournament together. And it was at Izzy's father's restaurant, the Prickly Pear. And he said, yeah, we would love to have you for a Madden tournament. So we got like 10 people signed up, and it was so much fun. And then that's where I got to meet Adam Nish.
I moved out to Albuquerque from Colorado, about 5-6 years ago now. And I was just looking for some friends, is how I met Josh. We got together on this Madden tournament, had a blast, and I found out about this radio show that him and a few friends were doing. I left some hints. I wanted to be a part of it. So he invited me out for a show. Of course, I bought the boys pizza. I wanted to stick around, so I had to bribe him a little bit. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
He really was wanting to be part of it, so he came in on the show, and he just fit right in, and he took off with us as well.
And one of the biggest pivotal points for ABQ Sports Crew as we grew was we got in touch with Lobo Hockey.
Man, this would be a good opportunity to grow ABQ Sports Crew if I could talk to the coach and maybe do some play-by-play with him.
We'd sit right in between the two penalty boxes, which can be a little terrifying at times when the jarring starts.
I think we were nervous because you could tell in our voices. We've never really done something like that before. And 2014 came. We were still going strong. We were kind of going down, and guys started to, life just happened.
And people got married, moved away, kids, work, life. And so the crew itself kind of fell apart a little bit after a while, and the show stopped.
During my break, I teamed up with Blue Wind Studios and Julian, and we got Lobo Hockey Network going, and it's been fun working with that as well, working as the announcer for them. But then it was probably back in May, Adam threw a Madden tournament, and he invited Elijah and Corey and Izzy. And we were just sitting there. I remember just sitting there in Adam's kitchen, and we were just talking sports. And it'd be like, you know what, guys? Now that we're all back, I think that it's time that we get the sports crew back together.
And it's just the perfect time. I couldn't be happier to get it kicked back up. that first show hitting over 1,100 likes as of right now, or views as of right now. That's phenomenal. So thank you everybody who's watching, who's tuning in, who's supporting us.
To see your numbers after the show was done, and we were so excited because we got 200, 300, 500, and then Adam texted me one night and he's just like, dude, we're at 900, and I said, we're gonna break 1,000 by the end of the night. And no joke, 45 minutes later, it hit, and 1,000. It just came back to me like, this is why I did it, because just seeing that, and thanks to you guys make this possible, and we wouldn't be able to do this without you. So, we thank you for that. And me and Adam can't wait to get back out there, and Elijah will be joining us again, hopefully full time soon again. So we'll have the three amigos on there.
Our big idea is keep it local. Albuquerque's a big city, but a little town at the same time, and we want to support the local shops. We want to have relationships with them. We want to host a lot too. We're going to be doing more Madden tournaments. We're going to reach out to you guys, see who wants to play.
So we got so much planned that we're already planning on doing. We're booking interviews with football clubs around Albuquerque,
barbecues, things like that. So I'm just excited to be a part of this. It's become more of a family than a show. Great hobby, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
We're going to put this on YouTube. We're getting Snapchat and Instagram, so we're just starting to grow again, and I can't wait to see what we have for the future, because it's only going to get bigger and it's only going to get better.
And now, ABQ Sports Crew.
Take care, guys. Cody.
Live.
Well, what a trip down memory lane, right? That was such a long time ago. It felt like forever ago, especially the night we just put the microphone over the chandelier.
I still can't believe my pizza bribe worked.
I know, right?
I wouldn't even be here if I didn't buy pizza.
Right? Just imagine if you didn't bring Domino's pizza that night, you wouldn't.
When in doubt, bribe with pizza.
Yeah. So we want to, if you guys want to see it live, our full interviews, you guys can definitely go to our new YouTube page, brand new YouTube page. It's awesome. We want to get as many of you guys to subscribe and like it as much as possible. So head to YouTube, type in ABQ Sports Crew, and you can find us right on there. We're on Snapchat now, and we want to bring in someone new. So we want to thank Jen Nish, who's our now social media manager, because she's just awesome at it. She's already doing stuff I didn't even know we could do. So she's just awesome like that. So, and she's your wife. It's a family. ABQ Sports Crew is a family.
No, so. It's cool that we're getting out there. Guys, will eventually be live on YouTube, lots of different platforms. We just want to reach you where you like to watch videos. If you have any tips, anything, we're open to feedback. We're excited for where the channel's headed. You guys turned out in a huge way last week. We're over 1,100 views on last week's video. Let's see if we can break that this week. Let's push for that 1,500 mark.
And we do have a new call-in number. So if you guys want to call us here at the show, you just dial 505-349-8798. Again, that phone number is 505-349-8798, because Adam, we got a lot to talk about. But first, before we get started really into this, you were at something this weekend for the Lobo hockey team. What were you doing this weekend?
Annually, the Lobo hockey team, headed by Grant Harvey, the coach, they put on a golf tournament.
Right.
And it's a best ball shotgun scramble. I've never played in a tournament before this, and I ended up playing this last week, and man, did they put on an event. It was so cool. My team, we ended up shooting a 70. Not great for best ball, and definitely not the worst. It was just a great time. There was prizes. They gave away one of those Yeti coolers. Just a great time, and all the proceeds were going to, they had a charity, and they had support for the Lobo hockey team as well, which they need it, guys. They definitely need your support. They're growing. I think it's 6th ranked in the nation right now. They knocked off Michigan last year, Michigan Wolverines. So a phenomenal team, and Grant Harvey put on an incredible event this last week. So it just turned out really awesome. Just a good time. But kind of moving on from that, guys, I'm excited to get into some football. I can't wait any longer.
We got a lot in store for you tonight. We're going to be talking fantasy. So if you guys are getting ready for your drafts, last week we went over running backs and wide receivers. Today we're going over quarterbacks, tight ends, and defenses. Who to stay away from, who to keep an eye out, who you want to draft, where you want to draft these guys. We're also going to be talking AFC North, NFC North. So if you're a fan of the Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, Browns. Is there even Browns fans out there?
He's still sleeping on them Jets, so what does he know?
We're also going to be talking Vikings, Bears, Packers, and Lions today. So if you're a fan of any of those teams, now's the time to come in and talk to us. We also will be talking, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but New Mexico is number 1 unfortunately, in childhood hunger. We're going to be talking to Holly from Feed New Mexico Kids. We got to get away from that, Adam. Number one in childhood hunger, there's 4,000 kids signed up for this program to get food because they just can't afford it. So Holly's going to be breaking it down with us, telling us a little bit about her organization and how we could help New Mexico take away childhood hunger, because that's some serious stuff.
Well, it's incredible work that they're doing out there, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it and hearing how you can help, how we can help, how we can all do our part to end this crisis. There's no reason for it. So I look forward to hearing from Holly. First, let's get into some preseason football. I know it's preseason, I know, but it's football. Come on.
You are so excited because you want to talk about your Jets.
Well, Sam Darnold, he's the future.
We're going
cool.
again.
I love
We're doing
Sam
it
Darnold.
again.
I'm not gonna
We're
lie
doing
right
it
now.
again.
Anyways, we're not talking about the Jets this week. We're talking about the games that happened this last week, which I guess the Jets kind of did play. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll talk about our teams last. How about that?
Right,
But what preseason game intrigued you the most? I'm actually going to say, man, I lost it. I lost it. Patriots and Redskins. The Redskins losing their number one running back.
I was just going to say, Darius, guys, that's the one thing that you don't want to see in preseason. That's why a lot of people have a campaign to end preseason altogether, is because you have this happen every year. Not just the rookies, but, I mean, big momentous impact players go down every single year. It's a torn ACL for Darius, guys. He's not coming back in 2018. That is a big void for the Washington Redskins. So if you're a fan, you're all hyped. You just got Alex Smith. It's going to be a new year for you. Geis is out. He's not coming back, which brings into the debate. What do you think about preseason as a whole?
As preseason goes, I don't think you need 4 games to determine. I think 1 or 2 is just going to be fine.
You're working
but
up to having.
I know
your
you
players.
need to see where your backups are going to be, but this is what happens when you play your starters immediately. They're going to go down, and we've seen it before in the past. We've seen big names go down in preseason before.
Well, the other side of that argument, though, is you start off with 70 players or 50 players. Like you're whittling down who's going to make your team. So it does come into play. These guys are playing for their lives. But I mean, if we're going to stick with 4 games, wait until the last game, at most the last 2 games, to even get your starters out on the field.
Yeah, I'm going to play them the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Third game, maybe have them play a series, and then the 4th game, another series. But we already know what some of these starters are. We know what Aaron Rodgers can do. We know what Tom Brady could do.
We've just seen it so much that there's not a single NFL fan out there that when they're watching their team play these preseason games, they're not holding their breath every single snap, because it's meaningless. It absolutely is. When you see your quarterback scrambling in a preseason game, yeah, there's nothing scarier on the planet.
Yeah, and then let's talk about another preseason game that was intriguing to everybody, because they wanted to see how these 2 guys were going to do, the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick, and Saquon Barkley and Baker Mayfield. The Giants were playing the Browns. Both of those guys were studs. First carry for Saquon Barkley, a 39-yard rush.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude, like his... Have we seen that guy's legs?
Why do we always talk about his legs? That's the weirdest thing, I swear.
Huge.
Every media outlet that I watch, you can't talk about Saquon Barkley without they got a nickname for him. I'm not remembering it right now. You talk about his legs. He's a big dude. He's a running back in the NFL. Move on. Jeez.
But what do you think? I mean, both of them were studs. Baker Mayfield threw 2 touchdown passes.
No, absolutely. They did.
Yes,
have
granted,
great
it's
games.
preseason,
They
but
had great games. That's a great way to start out. But you got to figure you can't base too much off of that, in the sense that Brett Favre threw an interception with his very first throw in preseason. Right. Granted, statistically, what you saw out of Baker Mayfield, I was reading an article about it today, statistically, that's a great sign that they go on to be very successful. Have Browns finally broken the curse? Have they found their quarterback? It's possible.
Yeah, that's a long list of quarterbacks. So.
I mean, you've seen one preseason game.
Yeah, it's hard. That's what you can't judge based on one preseason game. You could be like, oh, he's going to be the next greatest thing, just like you saying Sam Darnold is the next greatest thing.
That's obvious.
It's one preseason game.
That's obvious, though. Sam, did you not see scrambling, keeping his eyes downfield? What rookie on a scramble in the speed of the NFL keeps his eyes downfield and throws a dime for a touchdown?
What?
He's the truth. He's that we got our quarterback. And moving on, we're not talking about the Jets right now. Let's.
I mean, there was it's preseason football. There's not too much to get excited about. Lamar Jackson though looked good for Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Flacco's done. Joe Flacco is washed up. We're going to get into some more Ravens talk today when we're talking
AFC North.
We're talking AFC North, but they need Lamar Jackson. RG3 didn't look bad.
No.
RG3, no. Robert Griffin III came in and he actually played pretty solid. He looked healthy. They were acting like they had him slated as the number 2 right now. Who knows? At this point, you don't know if they're
they torched the Rams, though.
Absolutely. But one thing that I find interesting, the same thing with the Jets with Teddy Bridgewater. I could see the same thing with RG3. That if you have a good preseason, it can turn into pretty solid trade fodder. I know it wasn't preseason, but take the Jimmy G situation where he had to step in. He ended up getting hurt. But you win a couple games, you kind of look decent, like you can play in this league. That's great trade fodder down the road.
I think that's what a lot of people think with RG3, that he's trade bait right now. You know, Ravens want to build him up to be somebody and be like, hey, we got RG3. Your quarterback went down. You needed one. We got one. Let's trade.
If you're a Baltimore fan, the biggest thing that you can be happy about right now is the fact that they're looking past Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Because he's never been elite. He's never been great. He's had phenomenal defenses take him to where he's been.
Maybe the Bengals just
He's, in my opinion, one of the most overrated quarterbacks to ever get a ring. I mean, anyways, we'll get down to the.
We'll talk about that later, but we got to dig into fantasy football because there's lots to talk about, especially this week because we're talking quarterbacks, we're talking tight ends.
Time out, real quick on the preseason boat. Josh Allen, what the heck, man? He played like a scrub. He looked terrible. If you're a Bills fan,
decent.
No, did you see that one play? He's scrambling backwards, he's tripping, he's throwing it. He's like a deer in the headlights right now.
Get off the guy's back,
He needs to get it together. He's got a long ways to go before he's ready for the league.
Game and
he's
not
a
rookie.
You've got to be able to, through the minicamp, start to adjust his speed. Yeah, he's a rookie. Yeah, he needs to learn. Out of all of the rookies, he looked the worst.
You're a Bills hater. See? Okay.
Moving on to fantasy.
Fantasy football. We're going to be talking about where to draft these guys, who to draft, who to stay away from, who could be a sleeper, and also talking about the rookies because, you might want to draft one later on down the road. And then we're going to be talking tight ends, the big fellas, the guys that can be crucial to winning you guys a fantasy championship. Mm-hmm. And, of course, defenses. Yeah, because that's also key in winning because you can get some of these defenses that score more than a quarterback or a running back does in a game. So
absolutely. Now the key is to not take it. I mean, when you're looking at tight ends, when you're looking at defenses, we'll get into that a little bit, but you don't want to overreach. A tight end is one of the most overreached position when it comes to fantasy football. People tend to take them in the second, the third round. I've seen a couple of them. I mean, you've got to be elite status to go in number one. Just be careful. Be careful where you go tight end.
Because we've had people in drafts take a defense number one. Yeah. I'm not looking at Adam. No, it wasn't Adam.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, well, we know somebody that took defense number one. Okay, now let's talk about quarterbacks, where to draft these guys. A lot of people are going to get them in some go for first round because people are like, I want Tom Brady. I want Aaron Rodgers. I want Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was the number one scoring fantasy player last year. Remember that.
Which still throws me off. But when it comes to your keeper, sleeper, and weeper, who do you got, Josh?
Well, let's talk where to draft these guys. Then I'll discuss it with you.
Well, you got to pick who, though, because that plays so much into it. People draft a name, not a talent, and it drives me nuts.
My keeper, and he's going to be, he did very well for me. A lot of people laugh at me for taking this guy, but it just depends on his year, though. But I like Blake Bortles.
Oh, good. All right. Oh, that's a wrap. We're going to call it a show. Thanks, guys. Next week. Blake Bortles?
Dude, he took me to a championship last year.
Blake Bortles.
I'm not saying he's a keeper. He's my sleeper.
You mean the single reason that the Jaguars didn't win a Super Bowl this year?
Does this thing work? No, I'm saying he's a sleeper. I'm saying he's a decent...
I'll be over here. You finish your point.
Okay. Now that he's out of the picture, okay. He's a sleeper quarterback that you want to have on your roster as like a backup because he's going to be good at, say, you draft Aaron Rodgers. I'm not trying to jinx Aaron Rodgers, but just in case he goes down with another shoulder injury, you have a decent backup. I didn't say he's my keeper. Heck no, he's my sleeper quarterback.
You're promoting Blake Bortles. If anything, you should be booting him out of the league.
Dude, he took me to my fantasy championship last year. He got me 35 points the last 3 weeks that he played. So, okay. All right, the keeper, though, definitely it's going to be, you want to keep like a Russell Wilson. I like Russell Wilson a lot. He gets you the points because, one, he can throw the ball. Two, he can also run for the ball. He's going to be the workload. He's going to be the guy on the team that's going to have to make the plays.
We were talking last week, and we were even saying it is a dangerous. You got to be brave to draft anybody on Seattle.
I could sit here and talk. Yeah, of course, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady are going to get you the points. Yeah, that's who everybody goes after.
That's how you win fantasy football.
Yeah, I know. Right, exactly. But we can sit here all day discussing Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, because those guys are always the number one picks. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, I'm trying to keep it different, man. Stick with me.
But we want to win.
Okay.
That's the only way to win here.
That's the only way you're winning because your Jets ain't winning. So. All right, so I like Russell Wilson. I also like even the older guys. I like Phillip Rivers. I like Ben Roethlisberger, because
Yep.
Look who he has to throw to. Look at who all these guys have to throw to.
Who's your keeper?
Keeper, for sure. You got. I'm going Russell Wilson. He's been in top 10 fantasy points for the last 5 years. He's top 10, dude. Top 10. People overlook him because they want the bigger names.
But
they
you
want
look
the bigger
at
guys.
year over year. I mean, this year's Seattle football team, you're going to roll with Russell Wilson as your keeper?
Because he's going to be the workhorse. He's going to be the guy in
He's
Seattle.
not a round one pick.
No, definitely not. No.
If you can get him, if you can get him at a bargain, I can see that.
Yeah,
But
you want to.
You got to get him at the right
Be
spot.
careful where you draft your quarterback. Do not take him number 1 because you need your running backs and you need a receiver. We talked about this last week.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Quarterbacks usually start going about 4th or 5th.
All right, let's keep it rolling.
Okay. Who's your sleeper?
My sleeper.
Or who's your keeper? You asked me.
Roll past my keeper. All right. My keeper this year, Big Ben. He's going to have the number 1 offense in the NFL, in my opinion. Big Ben Roethlisberger. The big thing that I'm looking at with that, Le'Veon Bell, he said in his tweet that he put out, he is going to have a career year this year. He's planning to get his name out there because he's looking for a big contract with a different team next year. That's going to take a lot of stress off of Big Ben. And you know how Le'Veon Bell gets a lot of his yards? Through the pass. You get those little dump-off pass. If you get it to Le'Veon Bell on a screen and he goes for 50 yards, guess what? Big Ben got 50 yards. You've got Antonio Brown out there. You've got speed. You've got everyone not suspended this year.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with Big Ben. I got him on as a bench player to start out the season last year, and I ended up rolling. I tried to use him as trade fodder, and I realized I wanted to keep him. Big Ben, you cannot go wrong with for your number 1 fantasy.
Who's your sleeper?
You're just gonna jump in like that. So you agree?
Yeah,
you agree with Big Ben?
I told you Big Ben was a keeper.
We just don't agree much, Josh. We're so different. I'm just an intellectual. Okay, let's see. With sleeper, honestly, I'm gonna go with Derek Carr for the simple reason that the Raiders. The Raiders were
the greatness of the Raiders.
God, man, last year was rough. They were coming in as a top team in the AFC,
and then they rolled into Denver, and we broke his back. Need him right there.
Oh my God!
Need him right there in the corner.
Derek Carr is a phenomenal athlete. He's coming in. He's coming. Another one that you're not going to want to take in the first round, possibly the second if you can get a high wide receiver in it. But if you want someone who I think is going to produce this year, who's going to get those fantasy points when you need them, Derek Carr is definitely not a bad option.
And who's your weeper?
We're just gonna roll through mine, all right?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I haven't yet to get my weeper. So
my weeper. Oh, I got a lot of friends that are gonna hate me for this one. Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo is a weeper, the most overrated quarterback in the entire NFL right now. This guy hasn't done anything, and he's getting paid buku bucks. Dude's getting paid. He's making so much money out there in San Fran. He doesn't care what kind of product. Well, he might care a little bit, but we do not know what this guy is going to do on the football field. And the problem that you run into with that is his name has been hyped so much. People are going to start picking him in the first round, maybe the second round. They're going to think he's the second coming. And he is just so. I think that the expectation is so high, he can't help but let you down.
Okay, so I agree with you. I mean, a lot of people might not be like, hey, he took a crappy 49er team and won 4 straight with them, when they had nobody on the team besides Carlos Hyde.
I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm saying that he's not going to put up fantasy points, especially without Carlos Hyde now. Even Derek Carr would, even a Phillip Rivers would.
You ready for my weeper?
Don't you say Sam Darnold?
No,
I swear to God.
Darnold.
All right.
I'm going with the guy that a lot of people have liked over the past few years, but Kelvin Benjamin called him out on it, and I'm going Cam Newton. I'm taking Cam Newton as a weeper. I'm staying away completely from Cam Newton just because, he's a big guy. Yeah, exactly. He's just inconsistent. His passing percentage is garbage, and he got called out for it. And you know what? He didn't like it. But if you look at all the other social medias out there, people are not going to take Cam Newton because the guy, who's he got to throw to?
Yeah.
Greg Olsen? I mean, that's
Greg Olsen is a beast, but he's going to be, you're going to be
also
watching
fragile.
for him.
Also fragile, too, is Greg Olsen. So his biggest threat in Kelvin Benjamin's gone. So, we'll see what he does, but I'm saying stay away from Cam Newton. All right, so let's move on to defense or tight ends. Sorry, tight ends. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great talent out there. I mean, you got Travis Kelce who's coming back. You got Kyle Rudolph that's coming back. You got, of course, Greg Olsen who's coming back as well. Reed from Washington is also a good one to pick up. Jimmy G going over to Green Bay. Now he's got someone that could throw to him the way he needs to be thrown to. Because Russell Wilson, I don't think he fit in that.
Oh,
Seattle.
I'm thinking Jimmy Graham.
Why are you thinking Jimmy Garoppolo?
I was like, why is no?
There's the other Jimmy G.
There you go.
And then you also got, Antonio Gates is going to be huge for San Diego this year, I believe.
Who you got?
Is the number one.
Yeah, who's your keeper?
Who's my keeper?
You're saying there's so much talent out there.
Man?
I want to see it.
Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce from Kansas City.
Why are you going to take my keeper?
Why
are you going to take my keeper?
I didn't even look at your notes.
That's solid.
Yeah, Travis Kelce, he's playing with a young quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, and he can score. The dude, we saw him last year. He was he's a beast.
Well, and that's exactly my point. If you've got a young quarterback, what's their safety? What's their outlet? It's going to be the tight end. You've got the top corners in the league out there on the outside. The run game can be so-so. That tight end is going to see a lot of action. And what better situation to have Travis Kelce in? Mm-hmm. If you're going to score as a Kansas City Chief this year, it's going to be Travis Kelce more times than not. So that's a great keeper.
Yeah.
Now, I would still be hesitant. If you're looking at getting a tight end early, the earliest you take Kelce is the third round. In my opinion, even as a keeper,
still a stretch though.
I can see third round. He's going to be productive. He's going to put up points, but that's the earliest that you'd want to pick him up.
If you guys want to call in and ask anything about fantasy, please do at 505-349-8798. We'd be happy to answer your questions. If you guys, even if you disagree with us, we would like to hear it. Like maybe you have a perspective on something, and enlighten us.
Educate you.
Yeah, enlighten us. So call in, let us know who you'll be drafting, and who, or if you were iffy about somebody and you need a decision because leagues are going to be starting up any minute now. Or some people already have. So
which is crazy.
Again,
like last week, you start your leagues in late August, early September. I mean, how many people might have already drafted guys out of Washington?
So let's talk about sleepers now. Who's going to be your sleeper tight end? Mine, I'm going with Mr. Antonio Gates in San Diego. I think now that their main tight end got hurt, I think Antonio Gates is going to be someone that's going to step in. We know what he's done with Phillip Rivers. Antonio Gates is probably going down as the third greatest tight end in NFL history. Yeah. You got Tony Gonzalez, and you also have, Shannon Sharp, in my opinion, I think is one of the greatest.
Oh yeah.
People are like, well, what about Gronk? Okay, but Gronk, he's Gronk.
He's great. He's fragile.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm sticking with Antonio Gates. So if you're looking for somebody that is decent, is going to get some points, it's Phillip Rivers' number one target. So I go Antonio Gates.
That's not a bad one. Honestly, I'm going to go with David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns. They've got a quarterback now, and you've got to figure. You've got Jarvis Landry on one side, you've got Gordon on the other side, and then you're going to have Carlos Hyde. When you get into those goal line situations, those situations where you really need to score, the tight end is quite often looked at. Now that you've got a quarterback that can sling it to him, that could be one that ends up getting you some points. I don't know. Again, on a sleeper, you got to be hesitant to draft him early. But I could see that being someone who you get at a bargain deal. I'm talking the 6th, 7th, 8th round. That'll consistently get you 7 to 10 points a week. I'm not looking for 20, 30 points out of him. But if he gets you in double digits, you've got yourself a bargain.
Yeah, I agree with you. Nice one. Okay.
Stop agreeing with me. It's not fun at all. I like yelling at you.
Well, I was yelling at you today playing Madden.
Anyways,
we'll go on. All right, so our weepers, someone that you want to stay away from. I'm going Mr. Fragile and Greg Olsen. I'm not a big fan of Greg Olsen. Guy always seems to be getting hurt lately and hurting fantasy. I had him 3 years in a row, and every year I ended up benching him because he was hurt.
This is a bit of a personal vendetta.
Yes. I'm out to get him.
Okay.
I'm out to get him.
As long as we know the route. There's a bit of bias.
I don't like Carolina for some reason. Also, you can also stay away from Denver tight ends because they have
from Denver players.
Harmon hasn't proven himself anyway. Shut up. Harmon still hasn't shown anything yet. Jake Butt has sorry. Very childish. Because, do you say his name flat, just real quick? Jake Butt?
Moving on!
Jake Butt.
Oh, my God.
His parents must have hated him named Butt.
All right, so for my sleeper, or weeper, geez, this guy. All right, so as far as tight ends, when we're talking sleepers, we're wanting some...
Just think about it. Jake Butt.
Oh, man,
we got Jen and even Julian.
It took our second show for us to be cracking up over butt jokes. This is a high-class show right here. Everyone's in tears. Weeper! All right, so so moving on. If we want to talk weepers, I'm talking Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle. Get it together. Jack Doyle out of Indianapolis. Everyone thinks that Andrew Luck coming back is going to be phenomenal. By the way, if you haven't seen it, dude shaved his neck beard. He's trying to pull the Aaron Rodgers with just the mustache. And he just looks like something you see in an alleyway. It looks god awful. Get the giggles out, Josh. But Jack Doyle is someone that I wouldn't. If you think that just because Andrew Luck is back, because he did perform decent without Andrew Luck, that it's going to take time to get that chemistry back. That team is still in rebuilding mode. The Indianapolis Colts aren't going anywhere. They're not doing anything, and they've got not the greatest schedule in front of them. If you pick up Jack Doyle, I wouldn't expect more than you're going to have games with 2 points. You're going to have games with 8 points. Yeah. Not a lot in between.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll take it up as a good weeper. Mm-hmm. So now let's move on to... Stop it, dude. I finally got over this.
All right, defenses.
So defenses. There's a lot to go for this year. You got Denver. You got Jacksonville. You got
Denver.
Have you seen our defense?
Go ahead.
I hate you so much.
All right.
You got Denver. You got Jacksonville. You got Philadelphia. Baltimore was a top defense last year. In fantasy points, they were top 5.
Okay.
So that's Kansas City's also another good one. And then, of course, you got probably the number 1 defense in NFL right now is the Los Angeles Rams.
Debatable.
Don't disagree with me on that.
No, honestly, I'm going to stick with my keeper right away. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes.
That, in my opinion, is going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL coming into this season. If you can get them in the 8th round,
you got to score.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
don't be stupid.
You're going to see people going after them in the 5th round. If people are going after that, they're not going to. I mean, that's not worth it for any defense
so much
ever.
More you can get.
Speaking of which, a little side note for those who hadn't heard, Jalen Ramsey suspended for a week for his comments about the media today. For the cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it's hilarious that they suspended him for a week. It's preseason football. He just got a paid vacation.
Pretty much, yeah.
But anyways, Jacksonville Jaguars is a phenomenal defense. Their defense is what got them to the AFC Championship because Blake Bortles definitely didn't. And Leonard Fournette's legs did. But that defense you cannot go wrong with. That is a keeper year in, year out.
I'm taking my keeper as not the Denver Broncos. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Rams. If you can take the Rams and they're available at a good round, like 7th, 8th round, you need to snatch them up fast because they're going to be great.
Defense.
They added Ndamukong Suh. They added Aqib Talib. They got the guy from I forgot the guy from Kansas City.
What are you talking about? Wait, what's going on with Aaron Donald over there?
Yeah, he's still in contract dispute, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing you have to consider though.
Yeah, who's
if
the
you've
guy?
got Aaron Donald still in contract disputes,
Marcus Peters.
I mean, that's in my opinion that's kind of the heart of your defense right now. They need to sign him, get him that taken care of quick.
But it was Marcus Peters who they added from Kansas City.
Phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah, so they've got a tough defense, and they're going to be very tough to beat, and they're going to get some interceptions. So those are where your points are because you get points for sacks, you get points for interceptions.
Yeah, no argument there.
So that's my keeper. My sleeper defense is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. Like I said, they've been top 5. They've always had a good defense under John Harbaugh. So you can see them being a consistent team, and that's what you want in a fantasy team. They're good for a backup. I'm not saying for a starting.
I got you, and I can see where you're coming from. It's just if I've drafted them. I've drafted them many times, or I've picked them up off waivers, and ever since the Ray Lewis days, I just haven't gotten the production out of them. Those were the days where you see 20, 30 points out of a defense, which you're just not going to see out of them anymore. No. But that's a sleeper. I mean, I'd have to see something first. That's something, in my opinion, what I would do is I'd keep an eye on them because chances are they might be, if they're not drafted, they might be out there on waivers, and it might be a team that you might be able to sneak off a waiver if they end up coming up quick or they end up showing that they're going to produce. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait through week 1. I want to see what they put out on the field this year.
Okay, and who's your weeper?
I got to get my sleeper first.
Oh, sleeper, yeah.
The New York Football Jets. I'm telling you right now, they are going to be a top 5 defense in the NFL. You've got some of the best safeties and cornerbacks in the league right now. That secondary is brutal. Absolutely brutal. They've got a defense. Oh, this guy. Facts hurt, guys. Facts hurt. That defensive line is the truth now. They've got an amazing secondary, which you've got to figure. Yes, they only won 5 games last year, but another, 5 or 6 of those games they were within 3 points of because of that defense, and they got stronger. Jeez. I mean, you can sleep on them all you want. That defense is going to produce this year. They had that practice today. If you watched it, they were picking off Alex Smith left and right. Truth. Oh, they were tearing them up. That defense is the truth. Take my word for it.
Okay.
Sleep on them Jets.
Sleep
Just
on them,
sleep
exactly.
on-
Don't even think
All
about
right.
them. Keep it out of
All
your
right.
dreams. Sorry.
Your sleeper. Go ahead.
All right. I already said my sleeper, Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
My weeper, New England Patriots. Stay away from the New England Patriots defense.
Hell, I'll always get behind that.
Yeah.
I'll always get behind that.
Now you're on my side, jerk. All right, so New England Patriots, they got
Corey
torched. Yeah, where is Corey? No, actually, I talked to him about this last night, and he kind of influenced me on take this pick. Their secondary is awful. I mean, look, they got torched in the Super Bowl.
He'll be honest, though. He'll recognize that.
Yeah, and he did. He was honest with me, and I kind of agree with him. I think stay away from New England. Yeah, in the past they've had great defenses, but last year if you got exposed like that in the Super Bowl, I mean it's kind of like what's going on for the next season. They didn't really add anybody, and they lost Nikovic because now he's a coach of theirs.
Yeah.
So I think the heart and soul of their team is now gone, and I say stay away from New England's defense this year.
Yeah, and I think, again, you look at a perennial powerhouse like the Patriots, you're going to see people just picking up their defense because they're the Patriots.
Yeah.
So that's a fair warning.
Yep. So that's
Stay away from the Patriots.
Stay away, my weepers. They'll make you cry.
My weeper for a defense this year is going to kind of contradict my keeper in Big Ben. That Steelers defense, I think, is a little suspect. If you look at a lot of their games last year, they should have won. They should have gotten away with a lot of those games, but the defense led them right back into it. Granted, they were robbed a little bit with that Patriots game. They're late in there, but they couldn't shut them down. That defense can't close out games. And that's something that I watched throughout the season with that team, and I haven't seen the drastic changes needed to rectify that. So if you're gonna roll with the Steelers again, be prepared to have 10, 9, 8 points, and then by the time the game ends, you're down to 1 or 2 points.
All right, so that's going to end our fantasy talk. Like I said, if you guys want to call into the show, it's 505-349-8798. Well, I don't have this to memory yet. I am sorry. But again, 505-349-8798. Please call in. We would love to hear your point on fantasy football. And if you guys, like I said, need any help, we're here for you. Because we got to move on. We got to keep going. We got to talk now about divisions. And the first one we're going to talk about is the AFC North. Always up and down year. For the past few years.
That's a tough division.
It is a tough division because we've seen three teams.
Physical. I guess I shouldn't say tough.
I would say 3 of the 4 we've seen be dominant. And, we've had the Bengals dominant for a couple of years.
What do you mean, the Browns aren't good? Or
no. The Browns are like taking the Jets. Sorry.
So who you got?
Okay. We're going to go first. We're going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Taking the division?
No.
Oh, I was like, oh my God.
We're talking first. No,
right, cool.
I'll say after who I'm in this division.
All right.
All right, so we got the Cincinnati Bengals. How Marvin Lewis still has a job is still beyond me. That guy loses and gets a contract extension.
He's like the Jeff Fisher of the AFC North.
Yes, exactly. So how he's still a Bengals coach is still beyond me. But they start their season at Indianapolis. Then they got Baltimore, at Carolina, at Atlanta. And then they go Miami, Pittsburgh, at Kansas City. And then they're Tampa Bay. Then they got a bye. Then they're New Orleans, at Baltimore, Cleveland, Denver, at the Chargers, Raiders, at Cleveland, and at Pittsburgh. Not a favorable schedule whatsoever for these guys. I'm not an Andy Dalton fan. I've never been an Andy Dalton fan. Even when he was at TCU, I was never a fan of his. I don't see... A.J. Green is probably the only one I see on there as someone as a threat.
So Tyler Eifert's just trash?
No, but I'm just saying, like, A.J. Green's going to be their only touchdown machine. Yeah, they got their running back who's like... They're not... Look, they struggled last year.
I don't see how you can say that when you have Tyler Eifert. I'm not praising the Bengals by any means, but I don't think they're as garbage as you're making them out to be.
They were 7-9 last year.
Right, okay. And but he's not a rookie anymore. They're that running back Mixon or I forget his name Mixon, but they've got a he's a powerhouse. Then you have Tyler Eifert and AJ Green out there.
But look at their schedule. I mean, at Carolina, at Atlanta, at Kansas City. Like that's 3 right there.
I see that being not
at
as
the
bad
Chargers,
of a team as they were last year.
New Orleans, like they got to play the Saints. Like,
well, what record? What's the record you have them at?
I'm gonna go 5-11 for the Cincinnati Bengals.
No hope.
No hope.
No hope. I'm going to go 9-7, just because I feel like that offense is strong enough to win some of these games, the ones that can come down to the wire. Eifert's still phenomenal. He's still a great, if you want to talk fantasy, he's still a great pick, even with Andy Dalton at quarterback. They have a great running game, and then you still have AJ Green out there catching balls. Like it's not a bad offense, and that is a tough defense. Continue year after year to play against. Even with I think Vontaze Burfict is going to be out for, 3-4 games or something with a suspension, which he shouldn't even be in the NFL at this point. But, I mean, it's a tough defense. I think they're good enough to win over 500. I think they're going to go 9-7.
Okay. So we're going to move on to America's favorite losers. The team that went 0-16 last year, second team in NFL history to go 0-16, and that is the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
They picked up a lot of good talent, though, in the offseason. So I don't see them losing every game this year. I don't think that's possible with the talent that they have. They're still not a playoff team. They're a developing team. I like Baker Mayfield, what he did. They still got Tyrod Taylor, who's still proven that he can still play.
He played phenomenal in the preseason.
Yeah. So let's look at their schedule, shall we? They start the season home against Pittsburgh, then they're at New Orleans, then they got the Jets, and then they're at Oakland. They play Baltimore, the Chargers, at Tampa Bay, at Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Atlanta. Then they're on a bye. Then they come back and they play at Cincinnati, at Houston, Carolina, at Denver, Cleveland, or Cincinnati, and at Baltimore.
Okay. What do you got?
I'm going 3-13 for the Cleveland Browns.
Only 3 games.
Yeah.
Only 3. So the reason I'm going to disagree with you on that is that a lot of the games last year, yes, they went 0-16, but they lost several of those games in the final minutes and some of the final seconds. Yeah. They weren't terrible. I mean, they went 0-16, but I think the record was a bit, if you want to lean one way or the other, it was more deceiving of their talent than anything else. They've added enough talent to win 6 games. On that record. I think they're going to go 6-10. Again, everyone's hyping them up. I mean, Landry was saying, why not us? Like, we could make the Super Bowl, all that. Not yet. But when you have Landry and Gordon at receiver, you have Carlos Hyde at running back, Baker Mayfield slinging it, which, I mean, he looks solid. Even if Terrell Pryor's in there, Terrell was phenomenal. That's a different team than what you saw last year, and that team was very close to winning several games last year. They just couldn't finish off in the end. You've got the tools to finish off now. I'd say 6 wins.
Okay, so we're going on to the team from Baltimore. We're going to be talking about the Baltimore Ravens. They went 9-7 last year. Joe Flacco still there. But they did add Michael Crabtree to the lineup this year. Let's take a look at their schedule. They're Buffalo first, or home against Buffalo, at Cincinnati. Then they're home against Denver. They're at Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, at Tennessee, New Orleans, at Carolina. Then they're home against Pittsburgh, and they're on a bye. The Bengals, the Raiders, at the Falcons, at the Chiefs, Tampa Bay, at the Chargers, and then finish the season off with Cleveland. Mm-hmm. They're tough. Like for some reason, they always hang in there, and they give a run for their money to the Steelers every year. So I'm gonna have them stay where they're at. What they did last year. They're another 9-7 team, in my opinion.
I don't see them being that good. I just don't see them. I don't feel like they added enough during the offseason to actually make that same type of run, whereas you look at these other teams getting healthy, getting players back that may have been on suspension. You're getting a lot of talent at these other teams, even the Browns rising so much. I've got the Ravens going 4-12, degressing quite a bit, especially while they're transitioning. Flacco's not finishing the season as a starter. He's absolutely not. Honestly, I think he's going to start the season, but you're going to get on an 0-3, maybe 0-4 streak to start against a couple games that they should typically win, and they're going to panic. They're going to throw in possibly a rookie quarterback, if not a rookie, maybe even RG3 if he's not traded, and it's going to take time to build a bit of chemistry to make, and it's just not going to work out. I'd say 4 games this season. Okay,
now we move on to the last team in the AFC North that we want to talk about. Of course, it's the biggest team in the AFC North. It's the 6-time Super Bowl winning Pittsburgh Steelers, who were last year 13-3. All right, and their schedule pretty good. At Cleveland, Kansas City, at Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Atlanta, at Cincinnati. Then they're on a bye. Then they come back and play Cleveland, at Baltimore, Carolina, at Jacksonville, at Denver, the Chargers, at Oakland, New England, at New Orleans, Cincinnati. So a lot of rematches from last year. They got to play at Jacksonville, and then they got to play New England again. Both teams they're
hungry though.
Yeah.
And you can't be too scared of that Madden curse. You have Antonio Brown on the cover of one. It's a little scary, I'm not going to lie. I mean, especially because everyone's going to be drafting him number 1. I mean, they're going to be getting him in their first round. That's a favorable team. Like I said, I still think they're going to have the number 1 offense in the NFL. I think a lot of their games that they're going to win is going to be a high-scoring game. You're going to see a lot of games going to 35-30, just because I still think that defense is a little suspect. But that is a powerhouse team. That's the number 1 team to challenge the Patriots. Again, I can see another Pittsburgh Patriots AFC Championship game. I have them. I looked at their schedule, and the vast majority of them, I have them winning. Leniently, I would say that they're going to go 12-4. Easily walk away with their division, possibly even the number 1 seed in the AFC.
I think they're going to be very tough this year. They got to play at Denver, and the Steelers. They ain't very good in Mile High City.
It always comes down to Denver.
Yes, it does. Well, you could talk about your stupid Jets. I could talk about my Broncos fans. When have I bragged about the Broncos today?
My God.
Have I?
Here we go.
Remember, I talked about Jake Butt. Okay. So I'm going to go with 11-5. I think they lose to the Patriots. I think they lose to the Jaguars, and they lose to the Broncos. And then you always have to give them one loss against the Ravens. They always split their series.
Yeah.
So 11-5.
But easily walking away with their division.
They're winning their division, no doubt. But they're going to lose.
There
They're
you go,
going to lose
Steelers fans.
in Denver. Mile High. They never do good in Denver. They can't breathe in Denver. Suffocation, no breathing.
So that wraps up the AFC North. We'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Moving on, the NFC North. We're talking the Vikings,
North.
Packers, Bears, and Lions.
Let's look at the first one, the Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
5-11 last year. Mm-hmm.
I like Mitch, man. I like Mitch Trubisky. He's an up-and-comer. He's not bad. Tell me what negative aspect of his game that you have, because that dude can throw the rock. He's got an accurate ball, and he's a smart football player.
One, because he went to the University of North Carolina, and I hate the University of North Carolina. So
his college.
Yeah.
God,
I love teasing this man. Like, this is what I love doing to this guy. All right, so let's take a look at their schedule. At Green Bay, Seattle, at Arizona, Tampa Bay. They're on a bye. Then they're at Miami, New England. Then they got the Jets. Oh, holy Buffalo. They played the whole AFC East like in 4 weeks.
Right.
Detroit, Minnesota, at Detroit, at the Giants, the Rams, the Packers, the Niners, and at the Vikings. Ouch, dude. Jordan, where are you? Talk about your Bears. Come on, man. No. 5-11 again. I do not see him.
5-11 again?
Yes. No.
Nah.
Dude, look at that. Look at that last. Rams,
schedule,
Packers, Niners, Vikings.
But they've got talent
That's
on their
4.
team. They've got a great quarterback, a great up-and-coming quarterback.
I'll give it they have an awesome running back, but they don't.
Oh, they've got an awesome
Name
running
a
back and an
receiver.
awesome quarterback, but they're going to degress.
Who's a receiver? Can't think of one, can you?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, I see them doing better. I see them progressing. You've got a quarterback that's settling in. He's getting into his second year. I've got them 8-8. They're not making the playoffs. They're not there yet, but they're getting better than
Julian,
they were.
we need a butt kisser, like a mooch, like right there on the butt. Yeah, 5-11. Sorry. No. What do you have them at?
I say 8-8.
8-8.
Yeah.
No, sorry. We're disagreeing. Okay, you
All
got
right,
me
let's move on.
distracted.
Who's next?
We got the Green Bay Packers. Last year 7-9, but then again, that was without Aaron Rodgers.
Tell me how they're going to get worse.
Tell me how they're going to get worse.
Yeah, tell me how. Tell me how they're not going to progress or get better in any way.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is the key to that team because who do they have as their quarterback last year? Kaiser, Deshaun Kaiser. Was that him? No, it wasn't Kaiser. It was.
No, I'm talking about the Bears.
How they're not going to progress, dude. Who's? You're confusing me. Okay, so the Bears are not going to get any. Why are we talking about the Bears? I thought we moved on to the
Why would
Packers.
they not get better? I just want to hear your reasoning.
I don't think so because they don't have a receiving core. Their defense is okay. You can't have an defense in the NFC North, especially against the talent that you have in Minnesota and Green Bay and Detroit. Like, no.
We'll see. We'll disagree on that one.
Okay, so we got the Green Bay Packers. Okay. They went 7-9 last year. You know, we all knew their situation. Aaron Rodgers went down against Minnesota and it just completely collapsed after that.
No.
So this year they got Chicago, Minnesota, at Washington, Buffalo, at Detroit, San Francisco. Then they're on a bye. Then they're at the Rams, at New England, Miami, at Seattle, at Minnesota, Arizona, Atlanta, at Chicago, at the Jets, and then Detroit to end the season.
Okay. So give me your breakdown. I want to hear it.
This is going to be a tough division, but you can't count Aaron Rodgers out of any game. If he stays healthy, the Packers are going to compete for the division no matter what. Yes, they lost Jordy Nelson, but Jordy Nelson was kind of on the decline in terms of value.
I disagree with that, but I'd agree with you.
I said kind of. I didn't say
count
fully.
them out.
No, you can never count them out. They added Jimmy Graham, which is going to be a huge threat to them. They still got Ty Montgomery. Their defense, I'm a little worried about them. Clay Matthews kind of losing a step, I think, in my personal opinion. And then you got Clinton Dix.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Get out of here.
All right, so I'm taking the Green Bay Packers at 9-7. Whoever wins this division is going to be a 9 or 10 division.
I've got Packers going 10-6.
Okay.
So we're pretty close along those lines. You can never count them out. You can never count Aaron Rodgers out, especially with the RELAX. Whenever anybody does, he proves them wrong. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever do it. So 10-6. I do have them making a wild card playoff. Not taking the division, but I do have them as a wild card.
All right, so the next team we're talking about is the team from Detroit, the Detroit Lions, 9-7. Last year they were decent, and then they added LeGarrette Blount, so he's a bigger back.
I'm gonna start this off with the Lions. I will never, ever trust this team until they can get a solid running game going.
I think LeGarrette Blount.
He'll progress a little. He'll be better than Amir Abdullah, but you can't progress, and you can't count on LeGarrette. LeGarrette Blount did phenomenal when he had a lot of talent around him. Whether it was with the Patriots, whether it was with the Eagles. I mean, Golden Tate is a great receiver, and you've got a decent quarterback, but they can't get the running game going. They just, until you can prove to me that you can get a solid running game going, I won't count on you to do anything. I wouldn't get hyped. I would fire your offensive line coach. You just can't get anything going. I'd fire your running back coach if you haven't already. I haven't looked into that, but that's not a team that you can trust to get you anywhere. And for those reasons alone, I've got them going 5-11, and that's a very generous 5-11.
I could see where you're going with that. So, but they're still a talented team. If they got 9-7,
well, all these teams have talent. That's why they're in the NFL.
They're gonna beat the living tar. This division is just gonna beat the living tar out of each other. I have the Rams going. Or not Rams. Lions going 8-8 this year. 8-8. I think that's
8-8.
Yeah.
Look
at their schedule. We didn't even go to their schedule. They got the Jets. That's a win.
No,
at San Francisco, New England, at Dallas. That's a win. Green Bay. Then they're on a bye at Miami. That's another win. Seattle, at Minnesota, at Chicago, Carolina, Chicago, the Rams, at the Cardinals, at Buffalo, Minnesota, and at Green Bay to end the year.
That's why I said
How do you not
5
give
wins
them
is generous. It's generous with that team. Tell me one of those teams you can play against and not have to run the ball to win. They can't run the ball. And what it comes down to is Matthew Stafford, who is he still the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, which is unreal that he is because he's never done anything. He's got great stats.
That's why
he can't win a playoff game.
But look, you just said it. They don't have talent.
Okay,
so
but
he's
investing
going
it all wrong.
4,500 yards a season, and he's still that's pretty good for 45.
People keep riding out on the fact that you have Matthew Stafford when he hasn't. I mean, the truly great quarterbacks will help get you over that edge. He's never going to do it for the Lions, and it's not entirely his fault. He's had. I mean, to start out his career, he did have Megatron out there. He did have a bit more talent, but they just don't have the tools to do anything this year.
All right, so let's go on to the last one, and that's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. 13-3, probably one of the most talented teams out there right now in the NFC.
And got better.
And they did. Adding Kirk Cousins. I'm a huge fan of Adam Thielen. I think that he is a stud.
Not that I think Kirk Cousins is that great of a quarterback. I still think he's mediocre.
And Dalvin Cook is still awesome. I think this is going great.
You saw that chemistry in the preseason game. You did have Kirk Cousins hitting Stephon Diggs for a touchdown. So they're already building that.
We're not talking about that game.
Oh, yeah, I was against Denver.
Yeah.
But they're already getting that chemistry. They put up 45 points on Denver. Not that matters because it's preseason, but still, having that flow, having that connection with your receivers, it's cool that Kirk Cousins is settling in so quick in Minnesota.
Okay, so they got San Francisco at Green Bay, Buffalo at the Rams, at Philadelphia. Ooh, that's tough. Arizona at the Jets, New Orleans, Detroit, then they're on a bye, at Chicago, Green Bay, at New England, at Seattle, Miami, at Detroit, Chicago. Their defense, they're back to almost to the purple people eaters, okay? Like back from the 70s when the Vikings defense was really good. They're back up
that far.
I think they're good on defense.
They're phenomenal on defense.
Harrison Smith is just killer.
Monster.
He's a monster. And then just adding a quarterback that's, more accurate and
well, they're in win now mode.
Yeah.
They are going for a Super Bowl.
This is their year to win it. If they don't win it this year, consider it a bust because they need to win. They're one of the teams without a Super Bowl.
Right.
They got a great talented team. Philadelphia fans are just ripping them again this year, saying how they destroyed them. And now this is your chance. You got the quarterback, you got the receivers, you got the tight end, you got the running backs. Let's see it now, Minnesota. This is your year. If you're not excited about Viking football, if you're a Viking fan, then go away. Be a Packer fan.
No.
because this is your year.
So what do you got? I got them at 11-5.
I got them at 12-4.
Close enough.
Close enough. Okay. So while we're waiting for Holly to call in, we're gonna just talk about overall how this division is. Like I said, it's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be tough, and these teams, I could see somebody going out with an injury though. I could see a quarterback going down.
You said that last week, and that's like the worst thing you can say.
I am sorry.
Why would you in your life say that about someone? Like,
Okay,
when someone
so-
gets hurt, they're going to call you, and they're like, Josh, they
Why'd
were
you jinx
completely
it?
healthy.
Yeah. But it always happens in this division. We've seen Matthew Stafford go down. We've seen Aaron Rodgers go down. Teddy Bridgewater go down in practice. It's something about this division that the quarterbacks do not last, and because they can't. They get beat up. They're gonna beat each other up all season long. And it's always been this way in the NFC North. And no matter what year it is, it's hard tackling football. So
I mean, the biggest thing for me is that you see a bit of consistency. So if you're a Minnesota fan, you've seen the worst, you've seen the best, and this is a year that I know I've got them at 11-5, but it kind of makes me nervous for seeing if they can pull it off. I mean, it's tough to have that kind of success back to back, and the Vikings fans have been waiting a long time. So.
yeah. But now we're waiting for a caller. Let's get a little bit ahead before she calls in. Mm-hmm. Guys, thank you for tuning into Football Talk. But now we're going to talk about something a little bit more serious. For those of you that don't know, New Mexico is #1 in childhood hunger. And there's lots of kids that go, especially during the summer, that went without food. They were scrapping around looking for something. And it's pretty sad to hear that you live in a state where New Mexico can't feed the kids. And one thing you got is, there's just not money here. A lot of parents can't afford, food to feed them all the time.
Fortunately, there's programs.
Yeah, and luckily that we got somebody that will be calling, talking about this program. But guys, we need to help these kids, especially because there's so many kids in Albuquerque public schools that go and they can't afford to eat, and the schools charge. So I'm actually glad she's calling now. So we got Holly on the line. She is from Feed New Mexico Kids, and she's going to talk about just what it's about. Attention, because we need to stop this. So we want to welcome into the line now Holly from Feed New Mexico Kids. Holly, thank you for joining the ABQ Sports Crew.
We're getting it around. Just a couple technical difficulties.
Pay this man for some reason.
No, it's
no, but like I said, it's just something that needs to be brought to our attention, and hopefully,
we're excited. We're looking at it in a positive outlook. There's programs out there that are making sure that these kids are fed. That it's not an ongoing issue. It should never be an issue, but it's something that we have to deal with. So in just a moment, we're going to have Holly with
Feed New Mexico Kids.
Feed New Mexico Kids.
Yeah.
On.
So actually, we're good now. So Holly, thank you for tuning in to the ABQ Sports Crew. Thank you for giving us your time and talking to us today. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
Yes, we truly appreciate it. And like I said, I talked to you earlier this week, and I heard you on Star 88, and I told myself I got to get her on the line because we need to share this information. Holly, can you tell us how this program works and what you do, and but first of all, what's going on in New Mexico? Why New Mexico is #1 in childhood hunger?
Yeah, so I think what's important is for people to understand that New Mexico is #1 in childhood hunger. I think for most people that's new information. Mm-hmm. I think we think that goes on in Mississippi, that goes on in the southeast portion of the country, but actually New Mexico leads the nation in childhood hunger. And so there's a huge public awareness that needs to take place, and that's our vision to begin with, is to end childhood hunger in New Mexico, but we have to do that by increasing awareness that New Mexico leads the nation, and then by facilitating partnerships. So that's what Feed New Mexico Kids does. We facilitate partnerships with donors and schools and individuals to get people to purchase food, because we have a very small volunteer crew. And so what we really need is for people to purchase food when they're at the grocery store. Right. Food that a child can eat right out of a backpack, for instance. So anything that's easy open, no can opener required. So we want stuff like beef jerky, Chef Boyardee that's in a pop-top lid, because we're giving this out to kids that are really considered part of the homeless population. And I think that's another piece of new information for people. Right. There's a subset of children within the Title I program that are actually in the Title I Homeless Project, and that's about 4,000 kids just in APS alone. Wow. And that's the target group that we're serving.
Okay, Holly, and I attend Calvary Church. I know that's a drop-off location. Can you tell us on where people can donate food, and can you describe? I know you described a little bit more, but can you give us kind of a list on what can be donated and what cannot be donated?
You bet. So what can be donated is snackable, healthy items. So beef jerky sticks, Chef Boyardee ravioli, again, pop-top lid, tuna pouches that you can tear open, peanut butter crackers, power bars, granola bars, trail mix, pudding cups, fruit squeeze, dried fruit snacks, ramen noodles, single-serve mac and cheese, because the kids can usually still get to some place where they can find hot water. It won't be microwaved, but they can usually get hot water somewhere, even if they have to go to a Circle K or the school cafeteria, something like that. And so then the drop-off points right now, First Financial Credit Union is hosting drop-off points at all of their Albuquerque branches and their Rio Rancho branch until August 15th. But Calvary, Albuquerque, and Legacy Church are kind of the go-to staple places. Out in Rio Rancho, there is Southern Boulevard Automotive, who is also a drop-off point. And so if you pick up any of these food items, you can drop them at Calvary or Legacy Monday through Friday during business hours. We say 8:30 to 4:30. Okay. But then if anybody attends either of those churches, just take it before or after the service that you attend. Okay. And what we're doing is getting the food out to the children who have the need. We go directly to the kids. We use Title I outreach workers in order to get the food directly to the kids. We don't have access to them directly.
And it brightens up a child's day when they can say that they can go home and they can actually eat something.
Yeah.
And we see
what's happening with these kids is they get the Title I breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday. There's not always a reliable dinner. And then Saturday and Sunday, there's no food necessarily. Now, in some households maybe, in other households not. But again, we're looking at this very subset population that has dire need. And so very often they're not eating on Sundays. We had one elementary school teacher that was weighing the kids, just part of normal health checks, and finding that the kids were losing weight, little third graders losing 1 or 2 pounds over the weekend. Wow. And when little kids are losing weight over the weekend, they're not eating over the weekend. So we send these snack packs home with them. Well, send them away with them on Friday, and to try and sustain them over the weekend. And so these are kids that don't necessarily have a reliable place of shelter at the end of the week. They might be with a supervising adult living in a motel, living in a car. They might be living in a shelter. They can be teenagers that are couch surfing. There are families that are doubled and tripled up in locations and with finances that weren't intended to support that many people. We've got grandmothers that are raising 7 and 10 grandchildren. The circumstances are just across the gamut. And so it's a really hard-hit population. We're trying to do something about it, because a teenager that has food insecurity in their lives is 5 times more likely to commit suicide.
Well, what you do, Holly, is definitely invaluable. If you don't mind, finally, can you tell us how you got involved with this program?
Well, I had just been praying about it for a while. The Lord sort of brought it to my awareness and put it on my heart that there was something wrong in a community as church-going as Albuquerque is. We've got all the Catholics and the Baptists and the non-denominationals and everybody that are going to church on Sunday. And after church, quite frankly, one of the big topics is, where are we going for breakfast, or whose house are we going to for family dinner? Or, it's a very food-oriented day. And I just became very convicted that as all of us are going about what are we going to do for our family meal or meal of some kind, that we are living amongst children who aren't eating at all on Sunday. And so I just kept praying about it over time, and the Lord sort of brought the name Feed New Mexico Kids, and basically with a kind of a final push, I kept trying to figure out, how am I going to figure out the distribution channels? I kept trying to really have it organized and thought out, and finally the Lord said, just start. Just start getting the food, and, we'll go step by step from there. And so I reached out to the APS homeless division and said, if we get food, can you help us get it to the kids who have need? And I said, absolutely, because they had dire need of food. So the first time they came to pick up the first donation, one of their outreach workers just had tears in her eyes. She said, you have no idea. You have no idea how many families are calling us with need, and we have nothing to give them. Wow. Mm-hmm. And so that was about a year and a half ago. The first year, 14 tons of food was donated. Wow. And we're well ahead of that between Calvary and Legacy combined, and the community involvement as well.
But that's still not enough, Holly, is it? I mean, 14 tons?
No, it's not.
That's enough to feed, what, a week's worth? What I think I heard?
Yeah. So the way the math works out is there are more kids, and so for easy math, it's last year was 3,750. The year before that, it was 3,500 kids. So I'm assuming this year it's going to be 4,000 kids. So a snack pack weighs 2 pounds. So if you've got 4,000 kids that need it weekly, and that's 2 pounds, that's 8,000 pounds. That's 4 tons of food per week that would be needed to satisfy just this population in APS. Okay? And then after that, we plan on concentric circles and other population centers throughout New Mexico. But just to take care of the children with need in APS, we would need that amount of food weekly. So we have tons and tons of need, literally, no pun intended, sorry about that. And we can use participation from every angle.
And Holly, just a couple more questions, and then we got to get going. But can anybody volunteer and help and donate their time? I know you guys take special people, but people that are watching and listening to us right now, can they contact you and say, hey, I want to help out in some way? And I know donating food's one of them, but like packing the bags and taking it to the schools, can people do that as well?
Yes, there are opportunities where we can plug people in for packing bags. We desperately need a person with administrative skills right now to help coordinate volunteers and help coordinate where food is going, and we're trying to raise up a delivery team. Okay. So if anybody out there has mad admin skills, I'd love to hear from them. The packing the snack packs, we would plug them in either with the crew from Calvary that packs or the crew from Legacy that packs.
Awesome. And then one last question for you. And how do we get a hold of you? How can people? What website can we go to? I know you said the church is already in First Financial, but how do people get a hold of you if they have any more questions? And what's your website address and Facebook as well? Because I know you guys have one as well. But how can people follow you and get involved?
Yeah, so the best way to reach me is to send me an email at my email address, which is Holly Slade, Holly, Slade, SLADE, 2, @gmail.com, and just make sure they put Feed New Mexico Kids in the subject line, because I work full time. This is my volunteer ministry, and Dustin King over at Legacy, he is still in process of developing the website for us, but they can jump on Facebook at Feed New Mexico Kids and send a message there. That's how you got a hold of us. Mm-hmm. And we can respond that way as well. But if it's somebody who really wants to get in touch and is really serious about either collecting food at their workplace or volunteering, then they can just email me directly.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Holly, for coming on the show. We truly appreciate it. We, us here, me and Adam, and we definitely want to donate some food. And I like I said, I attend Calvary, so I would love to do as much as I can to help out, because I know just seeing a child that goes home hungry, it just brings a tear to your eye. So we want to make sure that we can help out as much as we can. So we want to thank you for coming in and talking to ABQ Sports Crew. I hope to hear from you later on in the year and just see how things are going. But thank you again for coming on ABQ Sports Crew.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Holly. You have a
Appreciate
great night.
It.
Okay, we'll be praying for you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So you guys heard it. That was Holly from Feed New Mexico Kids. Adam, I mean, just hearing like these kids going hungry, it does bring a tear to your eye, because me and you go like, dude, I'm hungry, and like we have the privilege and honor of eating, but these kids just
lose 2-3 pounds over the weekend. So what an incredible work for her to be collecting tons and tons and tons of food. Like she said, there's always more that needs done, guys. So if you can reach out, New Mexico's #1 in child hunger. It blows me away. I didn't know that.
Sucks that we finally made a list for #1 but it's something bad, and especially kids, because kids are our future. Kids are the future. And here in New Mexico, it's hard to hear. And I got in the grocery store, seeing little kids taking fruit because they're hungry, and that's also another thing that leads to kids doing things that like stealing just because they're hungry.
Right. But something's being done, and we can all get involved, and that's an incredible program.
So Feed New Mexico,
check them out.
Feed New Mexico Kids, guys, on Facebook. I'm glad that we got to partner with them, and I'm definitely going to help out. I need to. So now we're tough subject. Final headlines. Okay, it's time to almost the end of the show. But final headlines. I'm going to let you go first this time.
All right.
So go ahead.
So we're going to wrap up every week. We'll end with just kind of what's going on in the world of sports. And you can't knock golf right now. Today was the final day of the PGA Championship. Bruce Koepka came away with the #1 spot, which phenomenal. He played incredible golf. I think he was 15 or 16. I think 16 under is how he ended up the week. So incredible job to him. But I hate to say it, it's almost bigger news. Tiger Woods coming in second. He was only 2 strokes off the lead. A lot of people said Tiger's done. Tiger's never going to win another championship. He's never going to win another major. He's right there, guys. We're going in kind of the off season for golf. The majors are done until the Masters next year, but he continues to progress. He was in contention at the Open, and then he comes in second at the PGA Championship. He's the GOAT, and he's coming back. So that's my final headline. What do you got for us, Josh?
I'm talking NHL, the greatest sport. Okay, NHL. We're just a couple months away from that starting up again. I want a huge shout out to the Anaheim Ducks because we just signed our goaltender for 8 more years. John Gibson's coming back for the Ducks. I'm so excited. You got the NHL's going to be in full swing. I can't wait to see what the Vegas Knights are going to do again. They were magical last year. I can't wait to see what the Washington Capitals can. Ovechkin stop partying for just a minute. I know he has every intention to party, but I want to see if the Capitals can repeat. It's just going to be a great year next year for hockey. Seattle is redoing their basketball stadium because they're going to put in a potential bid to be an extension team next year. Seattle's going to try and get a team next year, so it'd be cool. Another NHL team, so that'd be 32 teams. I'm so excited. I can't wait. The October 3rd. I couldn't tell, right? October 3rd, Ducks and Sharks. It's about to get on. We're going to be great this year. So that's my final headline. Hockey's back in just 2 months, but a couple of things that happened that I wanted to share. But Adam, it's time to say goodbye. Hey, it's been fun. I'll see you guys again in a couple weeks. Next week we're going to have Elijah back on the show. Elijah Esquivel. He's going to be back. He's an old crew member. He'll be back better than ever. Going to enjoy talking to him. He's a big Cowboys fan. Unfortunately, you guys are going to have fun with him, though. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. I can't wait to be back. You're going to have to hold it down, Josh. Yeah, because next week, guys, we're going to be talking about fantasy football a little bit more. Just not too much because we already went over everything, but what to do in case of an injury, where to draft these guys, and just things to help you on later on in the year. How waiver wires work and stuff like that. So if you're brand new to fantasy football, you're not going to want to miss it because we'll be talking how to pick up guys, how to drop them, what to do in that kind of case. We'll show you how to pick up guys. Okay, you can say a joke like that, but I can't say Jake Butt. Anyways, guys, thanks for attending this week. I'm not done talking. Show. All right, okay, we got NFC South and AFC South next week. We also have the official podcast of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 2 guys that run it are going to be joining us next week on the show. They'll be talking about Tampa Bay football, so we can't wait to have that. But like Adam said, thank you guys for tuning in. We want to thank Holly for calling in and talking about Feeding the Mexico Kids. We want to give a huge shout out to Julian and Blue One Studios for producing the show. Also, Jed Nish, who we just promoted today to our social media manager. Follow us on Snapchat, guys. You can follow us on Instagram, and you can follow us on Facebook, all under ABQ Sports Crew. So give us a follow, give us a like, and YouTube as well, because right when it's done, we're going to upload the video. If you guys missed it, you go straight to YouTube, give us a subscribe, and let's make this big, guys. We can't wait. But as for me and Adam, you guys have yourselves a great night. We'll see you next week on the ABQ Sports Crew. Take care, everybody. We'll see you.